Now, are you saying that the Klan is a secret society?
It's a very advanced secret society. That's the reason why we can't draw the parallel, because we always have these rednecks etched in our minds. And as a result, we don't understand that the secret society has its origin in the Moorish system. As a matter of fact, the actual outfits that the Klan wear, I'm not talking about the ones where you see somebody cut some holes in some sheets, but I'm talking about the real Grandmaster outfits and the ones that's really done up with, you know, with the actual cross and the robe with the cape and the pine cone hat. That's all Egyptian initiation outfits brought up into Europe by the Moors.
Brother Larry, you always say black, and the reason why do you choose to use the word or identify us as black?
When we say black in America, we're talking about diametric opposition to white supremacy. We are not under the illusion that we are black. We have brown hair, brown eyes, and brown skin, right? When individuals create straw man arguments out of the terminology in order to prove their points, right, which are historically inaccurate, right? I want to state definitively that we are not Moors, okay? That Moors, historical Moors, they have a history, a birth record, a birth date, and a termination, at which time they exit historical records, right? Now, we do not exit the historical record. We have no set birth record. You cannot find the origins of my people. You have white people combing the planet right now trying to find out where we came from, digging all over Ethiopia, looking at bones, trying to say that I'm using common terminology, if you allow me to make my points, right? Now this is one way that we stunt intellectual growth. We take terms and then we go off on tangents about the term and the meaning of the term, right? Understanding is where I'm dealing with, right? So that these people that are digging in Africa for the origins of civilizations are white people. That's what we call them. When you look at Mary and Richard Leakey, we call those white people, okay? That's a common reference and we know to whom we're referring, right? Now, when we use the common reference in America of black people, we know to whom we're referring. We do not mean anything derogatory when we say that. To say that we mean or to imply that we mean something derogatory when we say that is disingenuous, right?
I just hate niggers.
Before you go, right? Before you go.
Brother Ron, what
now, I stood quietly by, and I stood quietly by because this is being recorded, right? While Taj Bey and that young brother told you what they told you, right? What I'm gonna say to you, right, sister, is history is an inquiry and interpretation of past events, okay? And inquiry, that means you looking at what happened, right? And interpretation, that means you're interpreting what happened, okay? So now in 711 AD, you had a group of Islamicized people from North Africa conquer the landmass on the Iberian Peninsula, okay? The general name was Tariq ibn Zayd, okay? Those people are known in history as Moors. Okay, they lost after about 700 and something years. They were defeated and expelled from the Iberian Peninsula, right? And then they attacked the kingdoms in Africa. Okay?
That's correct.
Throughout their history.
That's correct.
Throughout their history in the Iberian Peninsula, right? They were attacking the black kingdoms in Africa.
That's correct.
The first major empire in West Africa was destroyed by Muslims from this period.
So why we
The-
Ghana.
Listen,
Peach, right? So what color is this?
It's not funny. Black?
This black, right? So do you look like this?
No. Does your skin
Dictionary. Get an unabridged dictionary
Yes,
for the
sir.
baby.
Please.
And remember this. Remember this, baby. Law and history goes together. When they're not taught together, whoever is trying to teach you is handicapping you, and they're handicapped.
listen. If Muslims that are being called Moors come and attack your people and destroy them, how are you the same as them? You understand? So now that would be the Almoravids who destroyed Ghana, right?
correct.
So now when we talk about these people, just because they're brown, and we look back from the diaspora at these people and we identify with them just because they're brown, okay? And Europeans identified them with the continent of Africa as black people, as Moors. We're looking back through the discolored lens of the historical record, because we're in a society where we were deprived of history, deprived of knowledge, deprived of even reading, okay, for the longest time as a means of population control over us, okay? So now we're looking at the historical record and we're claiming these people as our people.
And we're as revisionists.
But these people were attacking our people, okay? So when you have individuals saying, no, these were us, this is our bloodline, right? Now, that's your daughter.
That's my granddaughter.
Or your granddaughter. That's your bloodline, okay? Those historical Moors are not your bloodline.
What is your nationality?
We are a nation within a nation in this country searching for a nationality. And once we find our nationality and serve that nationality, we'll do for ourselves what needs to be done. All ethnic groups in this country understand they got a nationality.
What I'm saying is when you look, right, you know that we are in a state of confusion. How do we know it? How many organizations do we have with people who look like us who claim that there's something totally different from the other organization? At the same time saying that, before we can move forward, we need unity, okay? Which means we need to come together, right? The only avenue that we haven't attempted, sister, in the acquisition of unity is we all call ourselves different things. We have never convened a conference to decide and declare that we are going to call ourselves one.
Came a time in 1506, after we lost power in Spain. The Africans ruled Spain from 711. We were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S.
We don't get the fact that you got black people from Trinidad, black people from Africa, Arabs from over here, Arabs from over there, going over there, white people from different parts of Europe, all going over there fighting under that banner, okay? The same way when you had the Moors fighting in Spain, you had Muslims coming from all over fighting. It's just that the elite troops of those people were black ex-slaves of those Arabs that rose up and was leading. Tariq ibn Zayd, Gibraltar's named after this dude, okay? But these are the ones who distinguished themselves and impressed upon the Europeans that they were fighting. Well, they wasn't Europeans at the time, they were Goths, right? Visigoths, under the leadership of Roderick, King of the Visigoths, right? And they impressed upon these people that they were the fiercest fighters. So naturally, this is how these people know them or knew them historically. So when we look at the historical record, it says Moors. But then when we look around, it says Tawny Moors.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Get my baby out of here.
say niggers.
For all the Negroes or black Moors are descendants of Cush, the son of Ham, who was the son of Noah. But whatever difference there is between the Negroes and the Tawny Moors, it is a fact that they are all of the same ancestry.
Very good. Okay, tell them who is writing
Leo Africanus.
Okay.
What I want to ask you is regarding the Moorish Americans. So is it your belief that it was Noble Drew Ali? Right, because that's what, because this is my understanding of it, that after the Moors were supposedly beaten and everything was taken away from them, that Noble Drew Ali came north and landed and ended up in Philadelphia. So is this where that stems from, or is it not where that stems from?
That's a renewal, or what you call a reestablishment of consciousness. But the bloodline was always there. And as soon as you do some research, anybody that does any research in world records, do military research and military documents, and it's traceable. As soon as you start getting to what you call John D. Rockefeller institutions that were set up since 1902, that's the General Education Board, then these people think that human beings are crayons. Right. And they'll start meaning that, like, if you go to a civilized person, whether they're from Europe or Africa, they will not start talking about human beings or crayons. You come here, and these people are debating.
Okay, so we're talking about 1400 AD. Okay, now read that entire page. It's very significant. First of all, tell them who the chapter is, the author of the chapter, and what the heading of the chapter is.
The heading is The Moors and Portugal's Global Expansion.
Okay, go ahead.
By Edward Scobie.
Right.
That ancestry to which Leo Africanus was referring is African. European scholars in the past 500 years have been deliberately dishonest in their writings about Africa. There are innumerable instances, much too numerous to catalog in this work, of this dishonesty. However, we cannot ignore the fact that certain Western scholars have claimed that the Moors belong to every other race except African. As a result, much confusion has been spread around the word Moor. This study is not intended to prolong the discussion about who the Moors were or who they were not. Scholars who are not blinded by the fog of racism are of one voice that most of the Moors were Africoid in origin. Even many of the marauding Arabs who crossed the desert sands of Arabia and swept down with their Islamic fervor northern regions of Africa, then crossing the Sahara and moving further southward. Massive miscegenation did alter the picture, producing people who were of all shades, from jet black to very near white. Dr. Chancellor Williams hits the nail on the head once and for all when he asks and answers the question. Now again, just who were the Moors? The answer is very easy. The original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. As amalgamations become more and more widespread, only the Berbers, Arabs, and coloreds in the Moroccan territories were called Moors, while the darkest and black-skinned Africans were called Blackamoors. Eventually, black was dropped from the Blackamoor. In North Africa and Morocco in particular, all Muslim Arabs, mixed breeds, and Berbers were readily regarded as Moors. The African blacks, having and even this name taken from them, must contend for recognition as Moors.
Read that sentence again.
The African blacks, having had even this name taken from them, must contend for recognition as Moors.
All right, thank you very much.
Don't be fooled by the leaders, saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing their stacks, sold you out to the lodge, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Don't be fooled by the leaders, saying they black, taking yellow envelopes, weighing their stacks, sold you out to the lodge, and government corpses sacrifice their own to their pale god bosses. Moors been telling, never to the point of yelling, like black power cowards slaving, never rebelling, backstabber, all talk, never killed a cracker, but killed their own like overseers for slave master, kill their own mentally, not a physical death, not in full life, only civilly dead is left.
Thing. That is the cornerstone of unity, identification. If you don't identify with someone, how are you going to unify with that person?
Just for a few minutes, right? So I started a conversation with the elder Tariq Bey, right? And I was just trying to be polite to the brother, right? Because he's an elder, right? But the people underneath him, they're going to have to show and prove using historical facts what they say. These terms like Moor and Morocco and things like that, and that's what we are, right? That is more religious than anything else, because they themselves are creating a mythology that they take whole groups of people, like Arab people who are conquering Spain, right? And then turn around, or Al-Andalus as it was called, and conquering North Africa, which is called the Maghreb, which they call, and they're making these people something that they weren't in history. They never called themselves what he's calling them now, but all of a sudden he feels that he has the right to call them that. They were called at most the Umayyads and at most the Saracens, right? But he is coming back and he is saying, no, that they were Moors. On what history? On what basis of fact? And when we ask him, it gets spin. So when we are talking about something like the Moroccan Empire, right? And he's asking me what nationality that they were at the time that me and Brother Larry are talking about. They weren't no nationality. They were simply Islamic dissidents.
I just hate niggers.
Okay, in order to do this, we need to understand a little more about the Moors and the concept, and that basically what was the divine plan. The Moors are nothing but a consortium of Camite Egyptians. For the people that don't know what Camite mean, or Kemet, Camite or Egyptian priesthood, mainly the temple of Kom-Ombo in Egypt, or Kemet, the temple of Isis, or Aset, the last temple of Isis, which was one of the last temples to be closed at Philae, as well as other Sufi orders in Arabia that have their origin in what is called Kushite Arabia, in which Moorish institution. And they set up those particular things in those particular societies. So what are some of the sciences that basically the Moors brought? Well, we know of all the learning and all the stuff that the Afrocentric movement told you, all of the stuff that the Moors brought. But let's get into some of the esoteric traditions. Basically, when you go in those New Age stores, and all that stuff that they got the New Age stores is dealing with, is nothing but all of the stuff that they basically conserved from the Moorish science of all of the stuff that the secret societies had. And when you see all that stuff, they give it a new name, esoteric teachings, New Age, and all that stuff. All that is nothing but Moorish science that they basically became the custodians of, and now trying to fake as being white in these so-called New Age bookstores, or what they call occult bookstores. You see what I'm saying? That's all that stuff is. Just put a new name on it, and you thinking it's some white people shit. So your tarot cards, you see them, this fortune telling, the tarot, that was introduced by the Moors. From the tarot cards, you get the playing cards introduced by the Moors. You see what I'm saying? All your divination systems, they got little stuff they throw down, little stones called runes, introduced by the Moors. The crystal ball. This is real deal stuff that works. Divination, introduced by the Moors. Your incense, frankincense and myrrh, all that introduced by the Moors. Gunpowder. You thought it was China. It got its root in alchemy. It has its root in alchemy going back to Kemet of the study of metals in and out the body. Also introduced into Europe by the Moors, as well as your fire stick, which later on was a gun that they didn't have no use for. Introduced by Moors. Spiritual music. The word music comes from the word muse.
What do you mean they didn't have any use for the fire stick?
Well, based on their nature. You know, they didn't conceive of this thing as being a weapon or something they want to kill people with. I guess they figured, you know, white boy picked it up after them and used it. All we know is they invented the gun, the fire stick, and didn't use it. You see, you know, and didn't use it. Music, classical music that we thought was a white, that's the Moors. Brought that up because the scales was invented in Egypt. It comes out of Hermetic science and ultimately out of alchemy. It is melanin put to scale.
You're talking about music.
Yes. The word muse is a Greek word for components inside of the melanin. These angelic beings called muse. You get the word music. Something that inspires you. Melanin inspires you. This is all coming from the Hermetic teachings or the teachings of Tahuti. Because Hermes is Tahuti in Egypt, which is the teachings of alchemy, which is the study of melanin, the dark night of the soul. And so music, which is the components of what's heard in the body put to scale, is introduced into Europe by the Moors, classical music. They call Beethoven the Moor of Russia. You see, some stuff called the Greater Key of Solomon, and some stuff called the Lesser Key of Solomon, which is these magical texts introduced into Europe by the Moors. One of the benefits of Moorish teaching was Nostradamus. His teacher was a Moor. There's a movie came out, Orion Pictures Nostradamus, 1994 is when it came out.
And they're doing that even now. There's still some doctrine.
Exactly. What happened was the Khazars, which was a Gnostic Moorish people that settled France, they settled Ireland, and they went on up into Russia and on into Bosnia. And from 1991 to 96, they killed off that black element in Bosnia of the leftover Khazars. The Khazars of these Moors first also settled Ireland. So when they said it, what's his name, ran the snakes out of Ireland, he was running the snake people out of Ireland, St. Patrick's, the Moors.
Those symbols, those are the circumpolar constellations that are always visible, right?
See what he's saying? This is what Larry's saying. See, we read tribal Morocco. You see? So Larry's correct. They were tribes. They weren't, at this particular moment, they weren't anything but a tribe. But continue.
But now, when you look at, you know what, sister? Current events will give you a actual understanding to what was actually occurring in the past. When you look at ISIL, the Islamic State in Syria, right? When you look at ISIL, the Islamic State in Syria, and you see Muslims coming from all over the Islamic world and going to Syria to fight with them, right? Now, how do we look at from the West with the reporting that we're getting and the identification that they're giving to these people, how are we looking at them? We're looking at them like that's one group of people fighting a jihad, right? Those are Muslims, right?
Came a time in 1506, after we lost power in Spain. The Africans ruled Spain from 711. We were calling ourselves Moors, M-A-U-E-R-S, then M-O-O-R-S. From 711 until 1485, 774 years, when we built and brought into Europe the university system, building the University of Salamanca, S-A-L-A-M-A-N-C-A in Spain, a copy of the University of Genève from ancient Ghana, which was equally a copy of the University of Sankore in Tombouctou, which...
I want you to know that we are descendants from the ancient Moabites who inhabit the northwestern and southwestern shores. You know what I'm saying? Our ancient forefathers are the ones who inhabit the land called Mauritania, which would today be called the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. So what you need to do is you need to study your history. You need to study Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, and find out what these brothers was really about. Get into their minds, their mindset. Learn how to have a better perception of who you are and what your forefathers were. Once you are able to ascertain that knowledge, then you will be able to understand the diabolical nature of the people who have you in the predicament that you are presently in. So I'm just telling you from an intellectual perspective, you know what I'm saying, and an educational perspective, that you must at all times adhere to your ancient forefathers, adhere to your nationality. We are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, Ethiopian. What we are the descendants of the ancient Moabites. So therefore they make us Moorish Americans. The Honorable Noble Drew Ali, who came in 1913 AD from the state of North Carolina, he was born in 1886, he taught us that if I get my people to think, they would teach themselves. So you need to learn how to think. You know what I'm saying? Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. A wise man once said, he said, if you want to hide the wisdom of man, he said, where would you hide it? It was three wise men. One said, well, we can hide it in the ocean. He said, no, man would one day get a submarine and he would go to the bottom of the ocean. One said we can hide it in the sky. He said one day man would have rockets and spaceships and he would eventually find it there. But he said, the wisest of all said, hide it within himself. They never seek to find wisdom within themselves. And that's where you need to find the wisdom within yourself, young man.
Law and history goes together. When they're not taught together, whoever is trying to teach you is handicapping you, and they're handicapped.